that this magical state of flow is that state where time passes strangely around you. You may feel it's been just few minutes, but when you look up at the clock and you say, oh, it's 3 hours. Every one of us has experiences some or the other time. When you are just engrossed in your child's thoughts or play, then you won't realize how time passes. Most important stage of flow, or the cycle of flow, to have more flow in life is the fourth stage, and that is recovery. Being in more flow in life, then you need to recover properly, and you need to guard your sleep like you guard your money.
Breaking the gray.
So here we are. This is actually one of the first solo episodes of Rebel Scientist. So I'm very, very lucky to have the best Rebel Scientist online with me. So thank you so much for joining me, Dr. Arpit Bansal.
It's been a great honor to be on the Rebel Scientist podcast. We've been touched. I think our paths are meant to cross. And as a surgeon turned into Aquaman biohacker, I believe that the future of medicine is in our roots, the light, the breath, the flow, even the water, and only few people can bridge this scientific spiritual frontier better than you, Sarah. So I'm really honored to be in this together.
Thank you. We're definitely on the same page with a lot of things. So yeah, it's been a fabulous discovery of that connection. So I'm very grateful for that. So maybe we could start with a little bit of your background, because, you know, you've got a lot of kind of credits to your name. And as you said, you're a surgeon, but you're also a biohacker. You're investigating a lot of things. Maybe you could kind of tell us how you got here to this place.
Yeah. So see, I'm a traditional cancer surgeon. I did my surgery. I did my laparoscopic surgery because all throughout my childhood, I always believed that technology is good. But I became a doctor. Let's start a step back. Why I became a doctor? Because my father, my mother, they were both doctors. And we belong to like a tier 2 city in India. So not like Delhi, Bombay. The city is called Allahabad. Now it is termed as Prayagraj. It is one of the most spiritual cities. The Mahakumbh happens here. So I also didn't knew that this is my purpose to be practicing here. But I wanted to help people. That is where I became a surgeon. My father was a surgeon. So I wanted to help lives. And cancer was a field where most people are still scared of. As a scientist, the research has progressed beautifully. And people need not be really scared of cancer, because we meet at various longevity conference where we talk about reversing aging. And if you're reversing aging, then cancer automatically gets cured up, I think. So I became a surgeon. I've been practicing in here since the last 10 years. I do laparoscopy surgeries. But over the years, I found that maybe cancer surgery or gut health, because I treat a lot of gut patients also. As a surgeon or as a clinician, it's not, our job doesn't end when the patient just comes and probably piles is a good example, hemorrhoids. It's a very common issue in India, at least, because most young people, even old people's gut are messed up. And same goes with their mental ability, their anxiety, depression. These two are the main gold standard issues apart from the metabolic disorders in the current era. And as a surgeon, many people used to come to me. I used to do laser surgery for piles, so that is advanced. I used to do some cancer laparoscopy surgeries. But I realized that I'm happy with it, but I'm happy earning and doing good to the patient also. But I realized that as a physician, we need to make people understand that our job doesn't end here. We have to educate about what real gut health is. And the gut-brain connection, which most people are talking about, it's a trending thing. But we need to understand deeply, and to really activate gut-brain connection, I feel the best methods are breath, cold, and light. These are like basic. Obviously, you might need to expend some money on it for some devices, but breath, for example, is free. Everybody can activate their parasympathetic and the gut-brain connection. So I would love to dive deep into it. What is the gut-brain connection for you?
It's really quite revolutionary to hear that from a surgeon. You know, those simple things that you're talking about. It's very, very refreshing and inspiring to hear that, because, you know, I think some people are a little bit disillusioned with current medical paradigm because it seems to be just about pharmaceuticals and surgery and really not much attention to the holistic aspect of the person.
So last 2 years, I was meditating, and only one thing used to come to me every morning, that my purpose revolves around water and people, connecting people to the roots. So that is why during the conference in Estonia, I presented my unique four body biohacking blueprint. So all this that reminds me that we as doctors, I am trying to be the bridge so that we can bridge the gap between the traditional medicine 2.0 versus the longevity based or proactive medicine, not just preventive medicine in the medicine 3.0. So definitely revolves around grounding, hydration, peak hydration, and one more issue which when I was working on my own peak performance journey. So I was 3 years back. I was not a runner. I was a fit person always, but I started running, and now I ran 3 marathons. Next year, I'm trying to run the Ironman also
Mhm.
in Denmark only. So all these things remind me that for health, what is health for most people? I mean, people are listening to this interesting podcast. By the way, I love the name Rebel Scientist, because we have to be rebels to
Yes,
make changes in the
for sure.
people's perspective. And health is the biggest issue most people are dealing with. But we have to, as your name aptly says, we have to change the perspective of people of
Yeah.
health. Health
Mhm.
is not mere absence of disease. It is so much more. And that's
Yes.
where my own biohacking journey started. And so biohacking is, I think, just being trying to be the best version of yourselves,
Yes, I agree.
physically, mentally, and spiritually.
I
And
agree.
one
Yeah.
more interesting story I will share with you. This birthday, 13th July, when I was in UK, so 12th July was my talk in a global bird fair. 13th July, I was meditating near the ocean, and so I claim myself to be the Aquaman biohacker, because I have delved deeply about the neuroscience of flow and water, parasympathetic, blue mind. All these things are very, very. I think it's my passion, and I have to flow in that direction. So that is why. So I wrote a poem. I'll share with you later on my birthday.
Oh, thank you. That's amazing. Yes. Of course, we have several shared passions. I forgot you were at the bird watching. I mean, nature is such a big part of it, and I think the separation from nature is one of the main causes why we kind of have this detachment. You know, you talk about the spiritual side, which isn't spoken about a lot, actually, even in biohacking circles.
Even in biohacking, yeah, even in biohacking, that is why.
Let's maybe, because you did such a cool presentation in Estonia, maybe we could just go over some of those points, because I know you've kind of separated it out beautifully into kind of manageable chunks for people, because it's quite a lot of information. So maybe we could just go through them a little bit simplistically so people have practical knowledge.
Told people in Estonia, and I will tell to this amazing podcast listeners also, that we have been told always, even in our spiritual journey, even in spiritual books and health books, that we have one body, we should nurture one body. That again gives a different perspective to what I'm trying to say. So I read so many books, I compiled my thoughts, and then came to this blueprint conclusion, because everybody wants a blueprint, some easy way to work out. And so I made 20 powerful biohacks. When you listen to this, they're all science backed, deep, yet very simple also, and rooted. So I split the human body into four different bodies, which I am sure you'll resonate with very well. So our first body is the physical body, or the earth body, because when we die, our body goes back to the earth. There is so that is the earth, or the physical body. And sadly, for health, most people are only limited in their physical body. Their nutrition is part of it. So I'll describe the bodies, and then I'll give the 5 pointers in each. And then the second is our emotional body, because emotions like water not just flow inside of us, but flow outside of us also. And if we truly biohack or understand deeply our emotional body, then our game changes, our relationships with ourselves and others changes. Then the third body, when our physical and the emotional body are stable and balanced, then we should also biohack or optimize our air body, or the mental body, because our thoughts are not in a structure, as we were talking about quantum biology also. So it's very interesting. Air and the mental body is a very, very it's like basically biohacking your brain, trying to be the best version of yourself. And then the fourth body is the fire body, or the spiritual body. So it's again not just spiritual, it's there is a lot more than that. So let's start with physical body, and I have divided 5 biohacks per body. Many of these biohacks, they overlap and they help in each other bodies also. So, but I've just put it in these split description for people to understand and grasp this blueprint easier, and start implementing them wherever they are in in their places in their lives. So, for example, the first biohack for your earth body, the number one biohack is water for me. You know how, and water or hydration is not just about drinking water. It's so much more. It's peak hydration also wants to, you have to master your electrolytes, you have to master your diet, consuming water rich foods and vegetables also. Cellular hydration is a term which uh, many even doctors aren't aware of. So most people drink water when they are thirsty, and many people even delay their thirst also because of various reasons that they are busy with. So water, cellular hydration is when you get dehydrated. Suppose it's a very sunny day, you everybody is scared that we might get dehydrated, we might need to be hospitalized and put IV drips and all those. But peak hydration where works brilliantly. So do you know that just like a 2% drop in your body percentage of water in your cells can affect your physical and mental performance by over 20% without you realizing it. So that's the peak cellular hydration biohack. So I always, as a doctor, I guide that humans were made very flexible and adaptable because we were sent to closer to mother nature. We used to live in forest, and our
Sure.
day used to start with sunrise, and all these things were natural part of it. But we were made adaptable so that we could survive for days without food, if possible without water also in extreme circumstances. So that was the thirst which was designed in our body. But if we like living in optimal conditions, then thirst is a delayed physiological response, I believe. Because when you get thirsty, when the percentage of water in your blood reduces, maybe from 80% to 70%, the numbers may be not 100% accurate, but I'm just giving these numbers for easy understanding of the our listeners. Drop in the water percentage then triggers the hypothalamus and the pituitary, which releases anti-diuretic hormone, which tells the kidney to conserve water. And in all this process, through chemoreceptors and baroreceptors, we get thirsty. So if we are drinking water only to thirst, then we are already cellularly
Yes,
dehydrated.
already late.
Our immune system, our DNA repair mechanism, everything, our body is brilliant, but we are reducing the efficiencies of that, and that ultimately leads to inflammation, cancers, everything. There have been scientific studies proving that cellular dehydration is one of the root causes of cancer, one of the root causes of hypertension, one of the root causes of hypothyroidism. So this is very interesting.
So
Shall
what's your bottom line? Because a lot of people put out, things like 2 liters of water a day or something like that.
I'm glad
What's
you asked
what's
that.
your,
Yeah, I'm
what's your
glad you asked that.
prescription?
So this is a very personal thing. To
Yeah,
give an open statement that you should drink 3 liters or 2 liters is a very under expression of the real depth of water, because it depends on so many things, on how
yeah,
what we have consumed in food in last 48 hours, how
yeah,
well did we sleep, are
yeah.
we living in air conditioned environment or outdoors, what's the temperature outside,
Yes,
how much
yes.
is your physical activity. So my bottom line in peak hydration is forget the feeling of thirst. You should keep drinking water as per your body requirements. Somebody wants warm water in the morning, somebody wants to gobble 1 liter in the morning. Whatever works for you, it is very personal. But you should not feel thirsty ever in life. So just keep drinking water
You
and
know
with electrolyte.
how I do it, Arpit, and I don't know if it's correct, is like if my urine is not like light, then I think
Mhm.
I'm kind of hydrated. So I'm
Yes,
not one
yes,
of those people who can glug loads and loads of water. I find
absolutely.
that if I do, in the bathroom the whole day. So I just
Hmm.
kind of gauge it by that. I kind of
So there
think,
are two
okay,
gauges. You absolutely nailed the second one. The first one is try not to get thirsty in life.
yes, don't get
The second
thirsty.
one,
Yes,
second one is what you nailed it is whenever you go to the washroom, you should watch your pee color, and it
yeah,
has to be as transparent or just faintly yellow, not yellowish. If
yeah,
you find it yellowish, then at the first instance, this is specifically for females because most females, working class, specifically in conditions like India, where there is lack of availability of clean washrooms, the easiest resort the young girls and the even professional working women they do is don't drink less water. But that is
Oh,
so much harmful.
yes. Yes, I can understand that actually. Well, even here, I mean, I'm sure it's worldwide. Sometimes you want to dodge using
Because
the
we
public.
are all professional people, and they are busy in, for
Of
example,
course.
doctors, and so the easiest resort it is. As a surgeon, I am when I do like 4 or 5 hours cancer surgery, I make it a point that after 2 to 3 hours I take a break for 2 to 5 minutes.
Yeah,
I go to the washroom, I drink water. So if a surgeon can take a break,
yeah.
because I feel it is
Yes.
good for me and for the patient, my mental acuity will be higher, so I'll perform optimally for the patient as well.
I think that's a good point too, because if you're not paying attention to your physiology, and you're not 100% there, are you? You're not 100% present. If you're kind of
Mhm.
putting something off, or yeah, I agree with that. I think that people should make the time to make sure they're taking care of everything they need to do with their health, and not put things off for convenience, because that's what
Absolutely.
they're doing. You're putting your health off, aren't you, just for convenience, so that you don't have to keep getting up while you're at your desk. But it's
So the
really,
ideal scenario in water intake will be like if you sleep all throughout the night without waking up in the night, and still in the morning when you pass urine, it's almost transparent or just
yes.
faintly yellow. That is your body telling you that you are almost at your peak hydration.
Okay, cool. I think we've nailed the hydration piece. That's good information for people. People don't talk about it enough. That's good information. Okay. What's your next
The
body hack?
next one is your favorite. It's the gut.
Yeah.
And but
Yeah.
I speak about gut is that the major reason to maximize your gut health. We talk about probiotics, prebiotics, obviously less use of antibiotics because that is a big issue these days. So the boost your gut microbiome diversity is what I always say. For most people, they say that I eat sufficient quantities of curd, but if you really want to nail your gut health and be like peak gut health, then you have to keep your gut diverse like a rainforest. Always imagine your gut inside the gut as a rainforest. If you walk to a tropical rainforest, there'll be so many trees. Some will be very long trees, some will be bushes, there'll be some fungi, some mushrooms, and some weeds as well. So we are not targeting 100% good bacteria. In nature always exists in balance, and there's a clear indication that there is an ecosystem happening inside of us. There are fungi, there are bacteria, and they all live in harmony with each other. So we should not try and intervene it. And in terms of eating, we should try and consume mainly plant-based diet. Meat is also good, but try and consume more fermented foods in our diet, and that too local fermented food, not just curd. Curd is. I'm not saying that you should stop eating curd, but for example, being a health optimist and being a biohacker, I got my gut microbiome tested. Not because I'm not suffering from any disease, but I'm wanted to just master my performance, and gut is connected to the brain. So for all the performance, not just physical, even our brain performance depends on what we consume. So thinking that way, my gut report told that I have 5,000 species of bacteria. Numbers are obviously in millions. And so we have to when you understand that report, you understand that if you keep consuming curd as your main primary source of probiotics, which most people do, they have only 4 to 5 species of bacteria, mainly lactobacillus and some bifidobacterium. So maybe those species are good, but instead we should try and focus on the diversity. So we should try and include some fermented chutneys, maybe kimchis, maybe sauerkrauts, kombuchas. And in India specifically, there are some local fermented drinks like this. Probably, I think in the US, have you heard about tapache? There's a one drink called tapache.
No, I haven't.
It's made from fermented pineapple. It's damn tasty,
I bet it
but
is. And probably with the pineapple, it has all those enzymes to break down
yes,
proteins
yes,
and things too.
absolutely. So, and there is a fermented drink called kanji, which is quite popular, but yet now it is dying down in India. That is from beetroot and carrot. So
Oh,
all these things, when you drink different kinds of fermented drinks, you introduce different good bacteria, and you make your gut diverse. And our gut is our first line of immune system. So that is you nail your health. You won't feel ill if you keep your microbiome diverse.
What do you think about probiotics and prebiotics and postbiotics? Because that's a big industry now, of course.
So definitely pre and probiotics are essential. Probiotics are the live good bacteria, and the prebiotics are the fiber rich, which are the food basically for our bacteria.
But
So
what do
when
you
we
think about the supplement industry? Or do you think that really you can get it just from fermented foods? You don't need to buy expensive supplements?
So, sadly, the quality of the food has also deteriorated in the over years. And so, once your gut is already disturbed in any
Yes.
form, maybe bloating, constipation, or any form, then you need to depend on some supplements. But in supplements, you should be aware of which company you are taking. What I personally do is, unless until I know the founder of the company, because I can then ask the
Yeah.
person detailed question, and then only I recommend. Because the commercially available, see, you also know there are in supplements there are two industries. One is the pharmacological industries, and one is the nutraceutical industry.
Hmm.
Pharmacological industry revolves globally around just 4 to 5 or maybe 6, 7 species of bacteria. While nutraceuticals nowadays, they are even using pine bark and other some rare, and even we should discuss functional mushrooms also here, because
Yes.
they also play a very important role in the diversity as we were discussing. So I
Yeah.
think supplements are great, but you need to make sure of their source.
Yes.
And ideally, you should be getting from the diet. But if your gut is already messed up, then some support with pro and prebiotics are essential. Important point here is that ideally you should be taking a supplement which has both pre and probiotics.
Yeah, good idea. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify there because I'm also on the same trip as you. I think as much as possible we can get a lot of this stuff from our diet. And
Yes,
like you say, locally there's so many things, you know, you're talking India specific. Here I am in England. There's plenty of things you can even get just in the hedgerows here. You know, even
absolutely.
eating things off trees, you know, you're getting different kinds of bacteria. Even when you're walking, you know, if you're
Yeah.
out walking in a forest, you're getting that bacteria. I think supplements are potentially good, but maybe secondary to getting it in more natural.
Especially in the probiotics and the prebiotics. Other cases, I think supplements are more dependable. For example, I take a lot of supplements, but I don't take
Mhm.
any prebiotic supplements
Okay.
because so the supplement industry is a great long topic to discuss. But
Yes.
probiotics, I think you can if you keep your hydration at its peak and diversity of your food. And important thing again here to understand for our listeners is there is most diseases, be it a gut disease, be it cancer, ultimately starts from inflammation. We in longevity
Yes.
industry we understand that even aging is happening because of inflammation.
And it
it
usually starts in the gut, right, Doctor?
it
That's where.
usually starts in the gut, and it usually starts when we are consuming something which is inflammatory for us. So,
Yes.
for example, I in my report it suggested that I shouldn't be eating sweet potato. I shouldn't be eating beetroot. These both things are actually very healthy. Nobody would otherwise directly recommend you not to eat. So the inflammatory food is very very person specific, and it depends on which bacteria you have. For example, the so-called famous superfood is avocado. Avocado. Everybody says avocado is a superfood. It indeed is. It has good fats. It has great quality of nutrients also. But it depends on your gut microbiome whether you have the right set of bacteria to be able to digest an avocado. Otherwise, for some people, even eating an avocado can cause bloating or constipation. So the inflammatory food, basically the diet journey, any dietitian you go, he or she will recommend oats or so whatever the dietitian is giving is right, but as per 70-80% population, that 10 to 20% of foods, any food can be inflammatory for you. And there are two ways to know which is inflammatory to you. Either be really aware of your body, and
Yeah.
your body will give you
Of
signals. It
course.
might not scream every time, but it will whisper to you every time.
Yes.
So if you are aware, and then you can hear the whispers, and you can understand that my gut is upset because I ate this. It's paining here because I ate this. I have some gas or bloating because I ate this. So in that case, you can nail down which are specific foods are inflammatory to you, and you can stop consuming them. And also, the gut diversity keeps on changing over time. So it's not for life, and nothing is for life.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but having that awareness is crucial, and it's something that I think we've kind of lost a little bit along the way with our dependence on,
Because again, so in explaining all these biohacks, the 20 points I always keep people back to there when we were a hunter gatherer approach.
yes,
So there
yes,
will so many points ahead will come. So let's take it down here only. When we were hunter gatherers, we used to wake up with sunrise. So our circadian rhythm will again come in ahead. It was synced with the earth.
yeah,
Like for example, you are in England right now, I'm in India. Sun rises at different times for us, sun sets at different times for us. We were living in forest, we used to wake up with sunrise, and after sunset we used to probably light a fire, cook some food, and then go to bed as soon
yeah.
as possible, because there was nothing else to do. There was no party,
Exactly,
there was no
exactly. And
alcohol.
with infrared, that you're talking about, how we body responds to light over that time, very crucial, and we just don't do that anymore.
Absolutely. So this is the thing. Like, so when we use in sync with biology, we were automatically do eating, and movement was a natural part of our lives. We used to wake up, we used to do our routine activities, and just keep walking kilometers in the hunt for food, be it a meat or be it a vegetarian source. But we used to walk. So there was no exercise because movement was a natural part of our body, and movement is actually the third biohack for the physical body. So we didn't need to. We actually invented exercise when we made our lives comfortable by making apps where you just have to press a button and the food is delivered right to your doorstep. So, and we used to eat what was local. We used to eat what was available in our environment. We were used to eat seasonal. And then as humans, we started cold processing food, saving food. Then you can get any fruit any time of the year. And that is not really good, actually. We should eat at per the seasons.
Yeah, for sure. And that's interesting about your comment about, eating avocados and things. Really, we should try and eat as locally as possible so that our bodies can kind of ground where we're at. I
Yes,
mean, here
yes.
in England, avocados are not something that would grow. So, it's an interesting concept about eating more locally.
So I see everybody likes avocado, and even if it doesn't grow organically, then you should try and introduce it. It's even if you don't belong to that area, but again, keep listening to the whispers of the body, which you tell you.
I love it. Okay, so we've done exercise,
So
which
exercise,
I
the
take.
point number three for exercise, I had the real biohack which I tell is the VO2 max. If you really want
Yes.
to stay healthy, and then you need to track numbers because I believe that humans have a tendency that I'm fine, I don't need to get blood test done, I'm fit. But again, that's the mentality when they believe that they don't have a disease, so they are healthy. And in our industry where you and me connected, the longevity and the biohacking industry, if we need to work on optimal health, then we need to measure our things and keep trying to be better in it. So VO2 max is such an important parameter where it actually tells you how much oxygens per milliliters your blood can actually absorb, and it's a parameter which you can train. So, for example, these days, people living till 90, 80 is quite common. Even 100, many people in UK specifically. There are so many people. I was in UK last week only, I told you, for my birthday. So I met so many elderly people. But the thing is that VO2 max, if you can train from your 30s, 40s, then you can do a lot of activities in your 70s, 80s, even 90s. There are so many centurions also running marathons.
How
So
do you measure that then, Arpit? Because it's not like I wear a ring. I've also got a watch, but I don't think it does VO2 max. You have to do. You have to
I
blow.
wear this. I wear four devices. This is the Aura ring, which probably the ring which you were wearing, and this is the Ultra Human ring. This is the Whoop band. So all these devices. See, the ideal measurement of VO2 max is done on a treadmill, like a stress eco test, so, similar
Yes,
to
and
that.
you have to kind of do lung capacity, right, to
Yes,
get a
you have to wear a breathing device
yes.
and do a running test. But these devices, the rings, also measure it actually.
Oh,
For example, this Whoop band, this is specifically for athletes. So
yeah.
it measures quite accurately. The numbers in these new tech devices may not be very accurate, but all these measurements, I think, instead of picking up numbers, it is more important to follow the trend, how it is
Yes,
going.
I
So
think
if
so too. Yeah, I look for heart rate variability, and I do
yes.
look at oxygen saturation,
Yes.
and I
So
look
heart
at
rate variability is the golden one specifically for you gut brain connection. I've put it in the emotional body. So we'll talk at length because
okay.
it's my favorite. topic again. So then the
Cool.
fourth biohack for our physical body is our muscle strength. Again, this is missing for a lot of people, specifically the elderly. And I would sincerely request all our listeners to work on your muscle strength, no matter wherever you are. Maybe you haven't gone to the gym ever in your life, maybe you haven't picked up weights ever in your life, but you can start small,
Yeah.
because muscles are the main fuel and main strength, specifically to protect your bones and your bony architecture in our elderly age. So we need to train muscles. You cannot say that I do yoga, I do running. So exercise, broadly termed, has three parts. One is muscle training, one is endurance training, or your cardiorespiratory training, and third is flexibility. So we, all of us, needs to balance these three to be working rare. And if you don't work on your muscles after the age of 40, you lose 1% of muscle mass every year. And
Oh.
after the age of 50, you lose 2% of muscle mass every year, if you're not training.
Yeah. Yes, you're right. Good motivation there.
And the fifth point is the sleep.
Hmm.
Sleep is so much personal experience to me, because all throughout my medical career, my medical training, I was a bird watcher. So I was always an overachiever. I used to keep running and trying to get maximum out of life. And obviously, trying to do this, that, sleep was the thing which I was also neglecting. Like I used to feel like if I sleep 5 hours, it is good for me. I can be productive. But over the years, I've realized that sleep is a power tool, because
Right.
there are so many different types of sleep: deep sleep, then REM sleep. And for example, there's a lymphatic system in our body which detoxifies all our toxins, bacteria, and all the things, and flushes out the toxins from our body. There is something called as the glymphatic system in our brains.
Hmm.
That is the parallel version of lymphatic system for your brain,
Yeah.
and it is the system which works only in your deep sleep maximally. And if you don't get adequate deep sleep, which is at least 1.5 to 2 hours of deep sleep in the night, then your glymphatic system will not be able to clear the brain waste, the amyloid beta plaques, and ultimately the slowly buildup of that leads to dementia, Alzheimer's, even Parkinsonism, all neurodegenerative diseases. So it's a very simple, free biohack for everybody. And again, it was important, as we were discussing the hunter gatherers approach. So we used to sync and sleep with the cycle of the earth. And that is
Yes.
why we have messed up after Thomas Edison invented the bulb that was
Yes.
essential. We humans, as our habit is, that we wanted more out of everything. So we wanted more out of our day, then we wanted more of our night. We want to party at night and sleep less and still wake up. So, and then night shift workers are completely a different ball together game. So it started messing with our physiology. It started desyncing our biology with the earth's biology, and that's where most of our problems started.
Yeah, for sure. We've given up a lot of our health in return for comfort and convenience with artificial light. I mean, it's great to have artificial light. I mean, there's so much more we can do, but comes at a
So
price.
see, because we have messed up, that is why now we have to. Red light is great. Red light therapies and artificial luma lights. For example, people who are living in gloomy areas where there is no sunlight, then it is good to have ring lights, and because that boosts your adenosine levels, and then it boosts your melatonin in the evening, so that it induces sleep pressure, and then it gives you good quality sleep. But so it's good to add adjoint devices to make it easier, and then we don't need any supplements to make us sleep if we sync our biology with the biology of the earth.
Yes, that's fabulous. And clear out our brains and hopefully, go some way to protect ourselves from neurodegeneration. It's so important, especially if we are going into the longevity space where we're going to be living longer, because nobody wants
Absolutely.
to live long with neurodegeneration, do they? We want to live healthy lives. Yeah.
So with this, our physical body ends, and then we shift our gears to emotional body,
Yeah.
and
This is
where
the part.
yours
So,
and my favorite topic starts, because uh, so emotional body. Love this concept of blue mind, which I have studied and connected blue. So there is something called as, you all know that there are two nervous system, obviously the voluntary and the involuntary, and in the involuntary there is a sympathetic nervous system and a parasympathetic nervous system. So for our listeners who are not doctors, sympathetic and parasympathetic can seem a little techie word and
hmm,
scientific word. So try and equate your blue mind or the calm mind or the relaxed mind with the parasympathetic nervous system,
Yeah.
because the vagal nerve, which is our nerve which runs from our gut and it connected to our brain, it's a very, very powerful nerve. And it's a two-way highway. People have a misconception that it's a one-way highway. It's a two-way highway. Whatever is happening in your gut is communicated to your brain, and it also, the action is also reversed. So if your mind is calm, your gut will also become calm. That is how it works. And anything, for example, cold therapies, for example, red light therapies. You have a great device. I used it there. And, so it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the vagal nerve, and
Hmm.
it brings your heart rate down. So that is the calming activity. Everybody, even laymen, understand this, that if you're calm, your pulse rate is low, you are relaxed. And the opposite is the red mind or the sympathetic mind. This is our stress mind, but it is also essential. For example,
Yeah.
when we were in hunter gatherers approach, back to our my favorite example,
Hmm.
then we were in the jungle. Suppose a tiger comes in front of us or a
Hmm.
lion, then we cannot sit in a Buddha posture or meditate to calm ourselves down. We
No,
need
we
to
need to,
run
yeah.
and we need to do whatever we need to do to save
Mhm.
ourselves and our
Okay.
loved ones. And even if the tiger is there at 2 in the night, we'll still suddenly get that surge of energy, that adrenaline,
Of course.
because that is the what the role, the fight and flee system, as you know it, the
Hmm.
sympathetic system. It gives you energy, so it is essential for our lives. But the parasympathetic nervous system is also called as a rest or digest system.
Yes. Yes.
So both are essential. It is the balance which is the key. And in the era which we are living, most people live in an era where as soon as they get up, they check their phone and
Yeah.
WhatsApp messages, and then ping, 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 constant notifications. So I have almost closed all notifications in my phone, and I like, for anybody calling, see the call and then call back, because these kinds of notifications constantly distract you, and you cannot, the focus span is gone, and then you cannot concentrate on anything. So it triggers, so the red mind is essential for burst of activity, for alertness, for focus, but we need to balance it. And that's where the our seventh biohack, or the second for the emotional hack, or our favorite HRV, comes into place: heart
Yes.
rate variability.
Yes.
So I'm sure you are definitely aware of it, and many people are not aware of it still. And it's like the variation in your heart rate. For example, if you had to deal with that lion tiger analogy in our days, then our heart rate used to obviously rise up when we used to run, and when we are safe, we sit down and our heart rate starts coming down.
Yes. We
So
need to have that flexibility in our
yes,
system to
yes.
be able to do that. Yeah.
So that is actually the measure of your resilience. So in extreme stressful situations, there will be less heart rate rise, and as soon as the stress situation is passed by, you are with your breath or with your relaxation, with your calming down, your heart rate will come down much lower. For I am an athlete, and in this think so this seventh biohack, HRV mastery, I think cold exposure, ice bath is the game changer in our lives, which I have personally experienced. And this is one of the main reasons why I call myself the Aquaman biohacker,
Mhm.
because the water has this power, and cold water has this power to build resilience.
For sure.
And not just physical resilience. I've kept this point under emotional body, because it brings our emotional resilience, mental resilience, and spiritual resilience. So this is one thing, doing ice baths, cold plunges, cold showers also, but I think plunges are more effective than showers. That's what
Yeah,
I
I
feel.
prefer the plunges. And I think you're right because it is a challenge. It's a physical challenge because
Absolutely.
there's pain, but it's a mental challenge because your body, once you've been in there for a minute or two, your body screams to get out, doesn't it? And to be able to control that and calm it and kind of go to a state where you
It
can,
has changed the game for me, Sarah. Because as I already told you, I was an overachiever. I used to run for these things. So it was the ice bath, the cold plunge, which has internally calmed me down. Means,
that's
like,
right.
as a doctor, as a surgeon in
Mhm.
India, there are traffic situations. There are so many stresses
Yeah.
constantly in our lives.
Hmm.
But last one or the year, by God's grace, I have become so calm that anything is happening in the external world, it is not affecting me personally. And This is not just me. I have heard, like example, in Estonia, I met a lady. I'll give you an example. Her name was Sin, and her Instagram name is Cold Synergy. That is why how we met.
Mm.
After my talk, she came to me. So she had Lyme's disease, a very,
Mm.
very deadly neurological disease which has no cure in our traditional medical cure. So one day in Norway, she's from Norway. She jumped into the cold river, and after like just she was in very much pain. So she's not with an attitude to like a suicide or something, just to surrender to nature. She jumped into the river, and after 15 minutes of swimming in extreme cold waters, she came out, and the pain was gone. And ever since that day, she had been jumping into and swimming into cold Norwegian rivers every day, and it has she's symptom free, disease free, with no medications. So that
Yeah.
is how this is one of thousands examples which I personally interact with also many people. So it triggers the balance, and HRV is such a powerful metric again, which as you rightly said, can be measured with our devices. The technology of measuring these devices is still new, so you can't like totally rely on the numbers, but again the trend is what we are looking at. We
And sometimes you see it go down before it goes up, right? Because if people are thinking that they're going to do cold baths and their heart rate variability is going to go up, that's not always the case. I've
That's
found
not always the case. So I
something.
have in my presentation I devised. So actually, when you are sitting in the ice bath, sometimes my heart rate variability goes down, and when
Yes,
I come out and do my breath work, is then when my heart rate, or when I do a contrast therapy, a sauna, infrared sauna, then it peaks the maximum. So
yes.
so it's like ice bath, as you rightly said, is painful for our
Mhm.
bodies, for our mind. But I believe that if you can choose your pain, then you can
Yes.
live your life so nicely, much better, because you've already chosen your pain for the day. Then you
Yes.
can live
I
the
love it.
day pain free and amazingly, and with a lot of energy. And it boosts dopamine also. It's one
Yeah.
of the best ways to do natural dopamine. And in this life, again, most people get their dopamine from sugar, which is totally bad for our gut and our brains. Most people get our dopamine from Instagram reels and scrolling useless content. But that those these kinds of dopamine, they crash as soon as you finish sugar. After 30 minutes you will crave more, or there'll be a crash. Same goes for the all these Instagram reels. You stop watching them, you get a crash, then you either go back to it. So it's a complete waste of time and loss of productivity.
Yeah, cold. It cuts through a lot of things, and I love the idea of getting all your pain out of the way before you start the day. Everything's up from there, isn't it?
Yes,
Everything's
you can't. So I was amazed. I've been, matlab, my body has become so resilient.
well.
Yeah,
That's great.
last week I was running. I was after coming back from UK, and it was raining. I was running in the rain, and didn't see properly. There was a thorn of bush which by mistake I ran into, and there were like 16
Oh
big
God,
thorns which pricked me here on my leg
God.
and even on my face, and I had to literally pluck out 16 thorns. But in the all the while, I didn't feel pain at all. I was shocked that it's not possible, but I was genuinely, I'm saying, I didn't feel pain at all.
Good.
That's the
Yeah,
power.
yeah. That's the power to build up your tolerance for sure.
So, and the next one again, which again goes with your analogy a lot, is breath work. I think breath work again activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the vagal nerve, and doing a breath work early in the morning or even before going to bed can give you better quality of sleep, can keep your gut and mind both in balance. You will be more able to take decisions, not react. So all these things, as you can clearly see, it's connected. The
Yeah,
the
for
breath
sure.
work, the ice bath. Then the last 2 points for our emotional body is gratitude, which I'm sure all of us are living in a life of gratitude, because no matter how much you biohack yourself, and as Dave Asprey is planning to live 180, but we have to always be in the feeling of gratitude, because if quantum energies or the nature or the universe wants, then anything can happen. A plane can crash and you are just poof, you're gone. So that is the power of gratitude, which I think wherever you reach in life, we all should have deep
Yes.
gratitude for life, for our fellow humans, for plants, everything, I think. And then that's when it comes to the last point of emotional healing, emotional body, is nature therapy. Just
Mm,
being in nature, bird watching, or just going to forest, walking outdoors in the morning specifically, it resets your emotional turbulence. How? Because it releases something called as phytonosides, some plant-based chemicals in our blood, and
Hmm.
it actually boosts our immunity by up to 300%. So just by being in nature can be do so many scientific based things to your body.
Yeah, for sure. And the emotional aspect is huge because it kind of gives you an idea of the bigger picture. You know, we can
Mhm.
kind of get sucked into screens if we're not too careful. And then when you
Absolutely.
go outside and you can see that there is something bigger than us, it's fundamental. I think that is genuinely inspiring to me to be out in nature.
And
So
that's where nature connection is what my as a being a doctor and my journey has been. As you know, I'm a bird watcher, bird photographer, and in bird watching and in planet conservation, the biodiversity is the key, and same is what we discussed in our gut. So I always believe that we have to for a healthier planet and our healthier human life, we need to conserve the biodiversity of the planet and within ourselves, which again we started messing up when we introduced antibiotics. At the same time, we introduced fertilizers, chemicals, pesticides, which started to mess up with the soil microbiome, and all these things started to affect our food quality. So then all these things are connected.
yes, great.
Telling
Yeah,
me that.
so far, I'm totally, all of these things are singing to me. So yes, thank you. And I think it's great that these are very, like everything we've spoke about so far, it's very simple, very easy. We're not kind of talking
You
about
might need some devices a little bit, but it's simple, and
it's
it
simple.
is all these 10 things are you till now we have discussed 10 things. So
Yes.
you are working on yourself, and there
Yep.
is no better project in life than
Yep.
working on yourself.
Well,
There's
well said. What's your next piece? Spiritual?
So next is the air body. The again, the is this generation. Other things are about our neurodegenerative diseases and all these sleep issues. So in our air body, when the emotions are still, then the mind clears, and then that's where how we become to try and shape our thoughts. And it is connected to the quantum theories also, which we were discussing in the beginning.
Oh, yes.
So
We have a lot to talk about on that, don't we?
yeah,
We have a lot to
11th
catch up.
biohack, or the first biohack for the air body is non-sleep deep rest,
Hmm.
or basically kind of a yoga nidra or a meditation protocol. Everybody is free to follow their own protocol, but this is one of my biohacks, and it's a simple one to do. The most famous one is by Andrew Huberman, who's a great guy, and he's just a 20 minutes video. So he talks about perception, and he talks about how you can just by introception and by extroception, by what you perceive, you can just calm yourself down. And so that's the science says that by doing a 20-minute NSDR protocol, specifically on days where you haven't slept properly or you have some mental fog, 20 minutes during the day anytime, or especially I do this a lot when I travel and in the flights, because it activates the glymphatic system also, and it gives you the reduces stress levels, reduces cortisol levels equivalent to an hour of sleep. So
Hmm.
that is a beautiful, powerful protocol to follow.
Hmm.
Next one is the neuroplasticity. Again, a neuro spicy word. It's a spicy word for our brains. But neuroplasticity, till as a scientist, long time we used to think that children only till 7 years or 8 years are neuroplastic, and they can absorb, and then neuronal connections can change. But now science has proved that even 40, even 50, at any age you can be neuroplastic. The children might be easier to get into neuroplastic states, and the flow states, we'll talk about it in a while. But neuroplasticity is simple. You keep doing new skills, keep trying to learn newer things, maybe learn a new language, maybe learn so just trying to learn a simple musical note, playing a piano, can literally rewire your neural connections. This has been proved by doing simultaneously fMRIs. So
Hmm.
that's how powerful it is, and it is a beautiful biohack for your brain. You remain young.
Yes.
Next one is reading. Reading is, everybody knows, in our era, podcasts are a great thing to learn. Also, I am a big fan of doing and listening and uh, exploring podcast. But still, I feel that reading a book for 15 minutes or 10 minutes a day can scientifically reduce cortisol levels by 70%, and it outperforms like going for a walk. going, having a cup of tea, or just relaxing. So it is one of the, I think everybody should at least dedicate 10 minutes of reading something, their field of interest, probably something new, because that is more neuroplastic for your brain.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
And the 14th point, I think this nobody in the longevity industry is talking about. And so this is CO2 tolerance. This is very, very interesting.
Oh,
This is the 14th biohack, or the fourth one for our air body. We are talking about our mental biohacking, our brains. And so CO2 tolerance is equal to focus power. If you breathe slow, you think more. And what is exactly CO2 tolerance? So when CO2 tolerance refers to how well your body adapts and tolerates the building levels of CO2 when you hold your breath. It's not the lack of oxygen which drives us, which makes us create that panic of breathlessness state. It's the buildup of CO2. So it's your brains and your body's relationship with carbon dioxide, not oxygen. And
mm,
if you and it's again trainable, you can train it. So like it's equal to say that low CO2 tolerance equals to quick breathlessness, more
yeah.
anxiety, and poor focus. And high CO2 tolerance is equal to calm under pressure, sharper thinking, and better stamina. So
So
and
how
you
are
can.
you training it, Arpit? Are you doing like breath holding
Yes,
exercises?
yes. So I'll tell. So the simple test is, if you, after a deep inhale and an exhale, just try to hold your breath. And if you can hold it for up to 30 seconds or less, then you have low CO2 tolerance. If you can hold it between 40 and 60, you have moderate tolerance. And if you can hold it more than 60 seconds, then that indicates high tolerance, high resilience. So it's like slowing down your breath to speed up your mind. This is very, very true. And you makes your mind sharp. So it's simple. Again, to train it, I started a year back on CO2 tolerance training for myself, and I couldn't, to tell you frankly, I couldn't hold my breath for more than 20, 30 seconds. So
Right.
it was quite disturbing for me, but then I kept working on it. It's simple. Everything which is easy not to do is also easy, which is easy to do is also easy not to do. So you have to just do consistent practice. There are so many breath hold, like I follow Wim Hof style breathing. So it's like a
Okay, yeah.
11-minute protocol on YouTube.
That's
You can,
very easy to find. There's lots of Wim Hof
or you
tutorials.
can follow any kind of breath holding. But now I
Yeah,
can hold my breath up to 3 minutes. And
yeah, fabulous. Yeah,
so I think wherever we are, we should try starting it. And with
yeah.
consistency, anyone can hold up to 2 minutes within 2 weeks if you just try to do it sincerely and with passion.
Yeah, so you just have to do the deep breathing. It's almost like you breathe in, let it go, and you have to kind of build
Yes.
that up so that
So
you get
like
the
30 fast, deep in, breathe in, breathe out, and then you can hold after inhale or after exhale. You should explore both variation, trying to hold after exhale and after inhale. So I'm training this because I'm now very soon going to do a free diving course also. I'm a scuba diver also, but now I want to train myself to be a free diver. So this is where one of my friends in Spain, I connected through biohacking only. She's one of the world's second free diver. She's the only second woman in the world who has free diving up to 100 meters.
wow.
And this is where the power of this. So you can train your body. Can you guess, Sarah, as a little medical profession, you can understand that how low can her heartbeat be when she was at 100 meters? Guess a random guess.
How
Like
low?
athletes
50?
have resting heart rate at around 40 is good, 35 is exceptionally good. I have breath, my heart goes down to 30 beats,
Wow.
35 beats per minute when I'm doing breath work or when I'm holding my breath. So when my friend Laya from Spain, she was under the water at 100 meters, not with a tank, with her breath holding, just her heart rate were just 18 beats per minute. That's how.
Wow.
So as
Yeah.
doctors, it's unbelievable, I think. But then I read a lot of articles on this.
What do you think about, because people say you're born with a certain amount of heartbeats, and once they're done, they're done. So if you can slow your heart rate down,
Yes,
potentially that's a
so
life expectancy.
heartbeats, and people say the same about breaths also. That if you are born with a limited number of breaths, so that's exactly that goes in this harmony also. So
Hmm.
if you do breath training, you actually prolong your life, because you there are neural connections building up, and you become much calmer person. So obviously you live life more freely.
Yeah, and you live longer potentially. That's
Absolutely.
fabulous.
So that's
That's
what now I'm
really
doing some
good.
studies on scuba divers, on free divers, how, because they are naturally working on their CO2 tolerance.
I'd heard somewhere someone's going for the record breath hold, and it's going to be 30 minutes.
Yes, yes. So that's biohacking at its premier best, because if one human can do it, there is a formula where everybody can try and follow and do it. Impossible is again a word which is a perspective driven word. For it can be impossible for you or for me, but it can be made possible the very next day by somebody. That's happens so commonly in our sports industries.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, it's good. It's good to have these inspirational people so that you can feel that you can at least get halfway there. If someone can do it for 30 minutes, you can definitely extend to 3. That's,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Right on.
yeah.
Then we move on to the last, because I would want to ask a couple of questions to you also regarding what you do. So that is why I'm just trying to wrap a little bit faster. 15th point, or the fifth point for our air body, was the digital reset.
Yes.
Because mentally, again, we were discussing about attention spans and our devices, and our so we need to do digital reset. And ideally, if everybody who has iPhones or their phones have a mode called do not disturb. And
Hmm.
I think at least 12 hours a day that mode should be on, and or your notification should be off. So when we sleep in the night, you know that there are our circadian cycles. Everything in biology is in sync. So there is something called as temperature cycle of our bodies, and when we wake up in the morning, our temperature starts to rise. And so if you know this core temperature cycle of your body, then you can plan your saunas, plan your exercise, plan your eating schedule, plan your sleeping schedule as per the core temperature, so to be in more sync with your biology. So if you are so then when you go to bed, when in the evening the temperature of your body core temperature starts to dip down, and in the night, probably if you go to bed at 10, then around maybe between 12 in the night or 2 in the night, you get something called as temperature minima of the body, the minimum temperature of your body, and it coincides with your heart rate minima of your body. So the sooner you get it after sleeping, the better quality of sleep. So these are all scientific things, but this can only happen if you. Why I'm telling in digital reset, if you're not watching at your phone at least 1 to 2 hours before bedtime, because that triggers the beta waves in your brain, and your sleep goes from alpha, theta, delta, and in REM sometimes even gamma. But if you have just activated the beta waves, which is the alert wave,
Yeah.
uh, specifically with screens, it's okay to read a book in the bed that doesn't trigger that much beta waves, and that probably gives you better dreams in the night if you read
Yes.
a good book in the night
Read a good
before.
book. Have a light that's maybe not quite got so much blue, and that's good. I always put my phone on airplane mode, and
Yeah.
if I don't have to have the alarm or anything, I have it out the room.
Mhm. That's a good strategy for everyone. So in the last body is the fire or the spiritual body. We believe that mentioning obviously in fire, as you know, these are all scientific things which are discovering. It looks like a spiritual based division, but it's deep science which we are discussing. And that's why again I would long to say that rebel scientist is the perfect name.
Yes. Yes.
So the first biohack for our spiritual body is purpose. If you have a
Mm.
purpose in life, studies say that even after counting for education, counting for basic levels of economy, you straight away live 7 years longer than people who don't have a purpose in life. So
Hmm.
that's what the studies says. Then the next point is fasting, and fasting is people believe it's religious, people believe it's spiritual, but fasting, just 24 hours fasting, maybe once a month, which most religious traditions suggest us to do, it triggers something called as cellular autophagy, which is our cellular's body's natural mechanism to clean all the to detoxify ourselves and remove all the dead cells, and it boosts your cellular autophagy by 300%. That is how powerful just 24 hours of fast is. And it clutters your emotional and mental declutter also. So it gives you again it sharpens your fire of digestion, of everything. So that is why fasting is connected not to your physical body more, but to your spiritual fire more. And 18th is the last three points we are going to discuss is sunlight, which we have
Yes.
already spoken about.
Yes.
In most of the things, we need to sync our biology with sunlight. So I always say that sync with your biology,
Hmm.
flow with your breath, honor your mitochondria, and respect your gut. That's what these are the four things. If anybody can work on, is like one of the ways to try and be connected to their four bodies and master it. And
Hmm.
then so after you master your, again we need to wear blue light blocking glasses. That's a good biohack to again blocking the blue light. If you wear, I have handy, I'll just show the listeners. I was
Hmm.
usually I wear, but in the flow I forgot to wear. So this, for example, this is a
Yeah.
yellow glasses. It's just filters of the blue rays, and specifically during evening hours after sunset, it definitely looks cool. But it is a biohack for my brain, because it blocks by blocking the blue rays. It doesn't mess with my melatonin production. It doesn't mess up with my adenosine production. So it gives me better quality sleep. So think times to use is specifically after sunset, and in the day when you are watching screens like this, or when you are sitting against such bright lights, then it is always good to wear blue light blocking glasses.
Yeah.
It keeps your body again in sync with your sunlight rhythm, or the rhythm of the earth.
Yeah, and you can get various filters on your phones and screens too. I tend to
Yes,
do
yes,
that with
absolutely.
the
So
glasses I
I
have.
noticed that since I've been wearing this, the days when I don't wear this, there is a slight wrinkle on my forehead, and because
Oh,
of the stress, because of the screen, which it
yeah,
is natural for most of us.
that's interesting. Again, there are different ways to motivate people. You know,
Yes,
not getting wrinkles is a great motivation for some people to do these things, because sometimes that can take precedence over health. But everything is connected. Yeah, I love that. Like I say, I tend to use the filters. I have filter on my phone. I have filters on screens, and I try to shut my computer down in the evening. It's,
absolutely. That's the best way. But sadly, most people party at night with lots of bright
yeah,
lights in their eyes, and then they say that
yeah,
they don't get good quality sleep. So
yeah,
they are messing up with their own biology. The
for sure.
last 2 points in our mental body, in our spiritual bodies, the 19th point is the heart brain coherence. It's again scientific evidence of spiritual alignment, that if you read about the heart math breath work, if so the heart and brain are connected in unique ways. And if you read more about in neurocardiology, by understanding the cardiac signals, your human heart sends more signals to your brain in your lifetime than the brain sends to your heart. And that is the root cause where the power of intuition happens, power of in third sense gut brain connection, where you suddenly know things. So because your heart, some many times you know that your heart knows first than your brains. So
Mm-hmm.
that is why the power of heart brain connection is very very important. And the last is the flow states. Like, I think we have passed over 1 hour, and how we were just in flow, because
So yeah, for sure.
and so people use this term very very commonly in their conversations, in their life. Today was a day in flow, I was flowing, everything happened smoothly. But there is a neuroscience of flow, actually. It's
Yeah.
a neurochemical cocktail, where our different neurochemical cocktails are activated in flow state. It is dopamine. We spoke about it briefly. Dopamine is our motivation chemical. Then oxytocin, it's our connection chemical. When we connect to people, when we connect to ourselves also, it increases. Serotonin, our happiness chemical. Again, a gut produces more than 90% of serotonin in the gut. But the
Mhm.
serotonin in your brain is different, actually. And through the vagal nerve, it transfers, it mimics the serotonin concentration in your gut, and the same thing happens in your brain. Then endorphins, which when you people used to runners, they used to call something called as runners high.
Yeah.
That's what the runners are usually in flow state. And endorphins are natural painkillers. You pain runners don't feel the pain after a while.
Hmm.
and then there is noradrenaline, the phase which focus, it makes you focus and drive, and there is a third, sixth chemical called as anandamide. That chemical is named after bliss, actually. So
Yes.
these six neurochemicals cocktail fire up in flow state, and flow states are sacred. We can train your flow state. So there is something called as flow cycle. For to be in more flow in life, you need to know and understand the cycle. One part of the cycle is struggle. For example, me being a laparoscopic surgeon, being a cancer surgeon, I used to struggle. I had to struggle to master my skill.
Mm.
For example, a surfer. Let's take an example of a person who's surfing in difficult conditions. He has trained and he has struggled and mastered his skills. So first phase is struggle. Then
Hmm.
when the surfer is probably riding a wave, and suddenly he sees that that wave is probably the biggest wave of his life, and he's never ever done ridden such a big wave. Then there is comes he's standing on the surfboard, and he there is a moment of release happening
Mm.
when you just surrender, and then your all the skills, your brain, your physical body, your balance, everything automatically comes to peak performance. And the surfer is just able to ride the wave with so much endorphin, so much dopamine releasing. So that is the release phase when you surrender, and
Mhm.
then you enter the state of flow. The third stage is the flow itself. So when I'm doing a difficult cancer surgery, there are moments when I feel how to approach this tumor. So there's a struggle which I mastered during my training years. Then after doing surgery, there is a moment where I know how to do it, but there's introspection going on in my mind, and then I release it, and then I enter the state of flow. Then that this magical state of flow is that state where time passes strangely around you, where you may feel it's been just few minutes, but when you look up at the clock and you say, oh, it's 3 hours. So, and
Mhm.
every one of us has experiences some or the other time, maybe with playing into that grandchildren, playing with our children, when you are just engrossed in your child's thoughts or play, then you won't realize how time passes. And this is, most people realize this, but that the most important stage of flow, or the cycle of flow, to have more flow in life, is the fourth stage, and that is recovery. If you want to be in more flow in life, then you need to recover properly, and you need to guard your sleep like you
Mm.
guard your money. More
Yeah,
important.
more important for sure. Yes, health is definitely the new wealth, for definite. Yeah. Yeah, sleep. And so, how would you recommend people get into a flow state? What sounds like you're saying is you need to kind of go through that, the pain of mastery, and then it
So
really
the
just comes down to
recommendation is like
practice.
most of us in our current life, we are living in a multitasking zone. We do try to
Yes,
do so many things. I do multitasking. So
yes,
flow state cannot be achieved if you are multitasking. It
yes. You
has
need to focus.
constant laser sharp focus. That is the number one thing. And number one thing is you have to be doing something which you love. For
Yes.
me, it can be bird watching. For me, it can be scuba diving. For me, it can be just going in nature or laparoscopy surgery. For a surfer, he's doing surfing because he loves surfing.
Well, I think that's a great message, just that there, because we tend to think that we should be doing so many things at once, and then maybe we never get to that mastery of anything.
I'll tell you. So first thing is you have to be doing what something which you love.
Yes.
Something. Second thing, you have to have mastered the skill,
Yeah.
surfing, laparoscopy, to be able to do it subconsciously.
Mm-hmm.
Then third thing is there has to be a challenge. It has
Mm.
to be optimally hard. It cannot be very easy. You will not get into flow if it is very easy. If it is overwhelmingly difficult, then also you will not get into flow because your mind will think it is too difficult. So it
Mm-hmm.
has to be hard, achievable, yet optimally hard. That's what I say. Then you achieve in flow faster. For example, running, in anything in life. The third thing is important, that you have to have a challenge in life. A surfer rising a big wave is a challenge. A laparoscopic surgeon doing a difficult cancer surgery is a challenge. And after that, you release, and then you enter flow. Once you are in flow state, you can multitask. You can do 100 things, and you will do it productively, because your
Okay.
productivity inside the flow state is 500% than normal productivity. So
Mhm.
that is why I say that mastering flow state is the best biohack, one of the best biohacks, because you can be your With your same body, you can be performing 500 times percent productivity. So who
Yeah.
wouldn't want to be 500 times more productive?
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody. Yeah, for sure. It's just a lot of people, you really do have to take the time to focus on one thing to get to that state. I think that's something that I'm certainly beginning to learn is you really do need to kind of find one thing that's you find passionate, get good at that one thing, really focus on it and devote your time, and then everything else can fit around. And it does. Once you find that, like you say, that comes back. I think earlier on you had purpose and meaning. Once you
Mhm.
find that, you know.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
So I have two, three questions which I want to ask you. Since one is like you have been pioneering red light therapy as a gut brain healer in your so many devices. Sarah Thrives is an amazing company. Can you share how photo biomodulation influences vagal nerve and emotional regulation?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, you've spoken a lot very eloquently about how we're kind of in primal bodies still, and how, if we can get back to that kind of tribal primal way of living, that all of a sudden our biology starts to work a bit better. And certainly, as you mentioned, we have evolved under the sun. We have evolved under all the different wavelengths from the sun, but particularly at sunrise and sunset, we get exposed to a longer wave of light, which we see as red, or maybe even beyond that. Near infrared is kind of just beyond the visible red spectrum. And our bodies are actually covered in light receptors that respond to that light. And the vagal nerve is the connection between the gut and the brain, hugely important because actually our gut is sending a lot more messages to the brain than the other way around. It's a biodirectional communication pathway, but actually the gut is sending the messages, and it's telling the body and the brain what light environment we're in, what stage of the day it is, what's it time to do. And potentially the light is also penetrating to those microbiome that you're talking about, which have also got their own language and are talking to the brain
I love
via
it. I love the answer. Yeah, brilliant.
So
So
for sure, if you're shining light onto that area, you're stimulating that nerve. You're also changing the communication between the gut and the brain. You're dropping inflammation in the body, and inflammation is quite often carried via that vagal pathway too. We have inflammatory markers and things, and metabolites, and even food particles. We're kind of feeding that inflammatory cycle. So red light is hugely important for the gut brain connection. Once you drop inflammation in the body, a lot of mental things that we would normally think, irritability, bad mood, being grumpy, a lot of that can come just from inflammation. So if you can deal with the inflammation, definitely mood will change, and this is something that I've seen again and again. This is why I love red light therapy, because it's really just taking something very natural, which is sunrise, delivering it in a way the body can understand, and then you can have very tangible, real effects very quite quickly, even on simple things that, being argumentative. You wouldn't really think that's a medical problem, but it's something you can
calm
fix.
down your nervous system. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I believe that red light doesn't just shine on your skin, it speaks to your mitochondria. It's like a powerful cellular language.
it
And
is.
it's like igniting healing where words and where nerves can't reach. It's a
Yes,
very unique way to heal. And the gut brain connection, you beautifully say, it's not a metaphor which people believe in. It's a biological highway, which is, and light, as you said, breath and flow, these are like the traffic regulators for that biological pathway.
yes, yes, for sure.
And what do you think about? So the other question which I wanted to ask is, what does flow mean to you as a scientist? And do you think like technology like red light or grounding can help people access more of these high performance, peak performance healing states like flow? Do you think
Yeah,
red light can contribute to it?
I think flow is due to a lot of things that are going on in the body. It's your connection to your external environment. It's also what's going on internally.
Hmm.
And as you've said, light is working on a way that's much faster. It's the speed of light. It's much faster than nerve connections and neurotransmitters. You can have a very direct and very rapid communication with light. And there is some evidence that actually the brain communicates with light, because not only do we receive light, but we emit light. Our mitochondria are actually producing low level light.
So,
And,
and
and yeah, it's a biophotonic emission from the body. So to me, being in a flow state is activating, as you've mentioned, you need to have the practice. You need to let certain networks in your brain activate, because your brain has different networks controlling different things. When you're learning something, you have a brain network active. Once you've learnt it, you switch to a different brain network. But more than that, your brain is probably communicating with all these quantum processes that we're still just finding out, which is the super exciting part, which light emission is probably one of them. Biophotonic emission from cells is.
And I think we are living in such an interesting era, because in the coming years we'll know more about it. And we were discussing about quantum. So I think like we as doctors, and mainly driven by pharmacological industry, we have been till now focusing only on the chemical activation of the receptors of our brains, of our cells. And so our cells have basically integral membrane proteins, and how they interact with our environment and how different signals turn them on and off. So we now know that we are not our genes. That is way past our 20, 30 years where everybody was after genetics, after gene therapy. But we now know that 80% is epigenetics, only 20% is genes. So it's how our cells interact with the environment. And sadly, the pharmacological driven industry only knows activation of the receptors by pharmacological chemical products or natural products, the receptors. But recently I've been reading, we were discussing that light, so including red light, including quantum light, including energy of any kind, also activate and deactivates these receptors. It also influences. So that's where my next
Oscillation,
last question.
frequency. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
So you,
and the brain is probably operating on very different scales. We have very tiny, like microtubules in the brain that are kind of oscillating and doing their thing at a lower scale, and then that's scaling up in the brain. I think we need to bring in more physics into biology for sure.
yes. That's my favorite thing. So I think where do you see like quantum biology and frequency medicine going in the next 5 years? I think it is going to go a long way, because we are getting a lot of scientific backed evidence for the energy medicine. And as I'm a doctor, I'm speaking this, but most doctors, like when we talk about energy medicine, it can be red light therapy, or it can be quantum energies, it can be hypnotherapy. Then as doctors, we totally ignore this fact. But I think we are way past era that, specifically after understanding quantum biology and how our cells react to the quantum waves. And that is why in our biohacking industries, the electromagnetic frequency protection devices are also now coming up.
Yeah.
EMF devices.
It's a very interesting time. And especially now we have got, the advent of these large language models that's going to enable us to take a huge amount of data and look for trends that potentially we didn't see before, and model these kind of quantum effects. Again, now we have the computer technology to do that. I think it's going to be a very different world in 5 years' time, because we're going to have access to some of this information that previously we just didn't.
I can't wait to see where we go actually. And last, a little personal question: was there any a moment in your life when you realized that light, something we take for granted, maybe red light or sunlight or infrared rays, could become a tool for awakening or healing? How did you get into this red light therapy?
I was in the biohacking before I was into the light. So I was into biohacking because I have an interest in alternative medicines. I started off in pharmaceuticals, actually, and then I turned to more alternative medicines. But it was only when I started to do data collection on a trial, it was a Parkinson's trial, and I actually saw people getting better, that was my turning point. So yes, that was when I really kind of understood the importance of light in biology. I was just telling you about what I actually did a study using light for Parkinson's and saw for myself for the first time. And it was very moving to see the patients. And it made me think, I really don't know why we don't have this. And it was only kind of going down that rabbit hole and seeing, okay, there's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of inertia around what's going on in medicine. But certainly it made me want to dedicate the rest of my career to investigating how we could work with light.
Well, I'm so glad, Sarah, that our paths have crossed, and I'm sure we'll be connected.
For sure. I'm looking forward. I know that we're already planning to kind of have some chats about quantum biology.
So glad that our paths crossed, Sarah, and we are connected.
This is just the start, I think, of a lovely connection. So we will just update people as we go along. Maybe just quickly tell people your social handle.
So I'm there on Instagram, or you can just Google my name, Dr. Arpit Bansal .surgeon. It's my main profile. and there are some other profiles like namely Aquaman Biohacker and my birding profile where I share the birds. And I find that it's my mission to spread this to the world. And I feel that my mission is to speak the science of flow and the wisdom of nature to heal, transform people's lives. And I'll be honored if this is all. I don't think that I'm doing this. I think my connection with nature and nature is making me do all of this.
That's lovely. That's lovely. For sure. I think that you are inspired and you're inspiring. So thank you. It was such an honor to have you on, and I look forward to the next time.
Breaking the gray.